So we have a question on text messaging, something that I actually really like to hear about. And the question is basically this. I'm going to paraphrase it, and we're going to keep it anonymous, mainly because, man, well, this guy is, a dude who messaged me. And he was basically saying, look, I went out on a date with some girls who were traveling where he lives, and him and his buddy went out, and, the girls like had a good time with them and so on. And the next day, I believe it's the next day, she messaged him back saying, like, hey, good times, all that sort of stuff. And he was like, yeah, fun night. And they went back and forth a little bit. And he's like, where did I go wrong in this? Or how do I make it better? Or, what could, be made totally awesome so that I could get this shit down? And this is something that people like are always wondering about with text messaging. But the fundamental thing is that in text messaging, your only goal is to really meet up with them. Your only goal is that. And so and you need to know the direction of where you want to take it, or else it's going to go all over the place and be led in kind of like bizarre areas. Like it's just, you're going to be stuck wondering, like, did I do this right? And it's so much more simple than that. So a couple fundamental things is there's tons of different ways to text message. Like some people send memes, some people say all this over the top shit, some people get all crazy. And actually, we were breaking it down on this TSL call, which is happening right now. And so it's lucky timing with the guy messaging me, is that they were actually, there was a ton of feedback from the different stuff that the guys do there, but they were like, you should read your old stuff, which is the El Topo text game message part 1, 2, and 3, which is like crazily over the top in comparison to this. So it isn't so much about the method or the style. It's about being able to meet up with them. That is hands down what you want and in the direction that you want. So if you want to get a date, if you want to have fast sex, if you want to make friends with them, whatever it is, but you need to move it in that direction. Okay. That is all that matters. If you meet up with them and move in the direction that you want, you did it right. Okay. So in years and years and years of this, so many people do it in different ways, and years and years and years of millions of, I don't know how many text message exchanges must be out there of people who successfully, got a relationship that they want, men and women. There's just a ton. So there's so many different ways to do it. So what we're going to look at here, and he also sent me the screenshots, which we're not going to share on this, but I'm going to kind of go over it, is what went wrong, what went right, and what we can look at. So the first goal of text messaging is to move in the direction that you want. So in this case, to meet up and most likely hook up. If somebody is visiting from out of town, they want that. Like I always talk about this, like you have the ultimate, like no matter who you are, what your background is, like you are short, tall, you're, whatever, have these things that culture says are not good or attractive. If you're a heterosexual male and you're meeting a heterosexual female, you two are selling the same thing to each other. Like you guys meeting up is exactly, it is what you need. It's what both of you guys want, and you're moving in the right direction. So you got to start with that idea that there's this natural urge working towards you, and you have to more or less get it so that you can meet up, connect, and hang out, rather than think of all these resistances and how she's really against you. She's not. Man, if she could have a great time with a great guy and great sex, or whatever it is that she's looking for, or sex without any commitments, or traveling, the adventure of like being with somebody that she just meets and it's so cool and it just effortlessly happens and just one thing leads to another, man, you are doing her a favor. And there's just so many ways to do a favor to somebody that go with that mentality. So the next thing is, other than meeting up with them and moving into that natural state, is that you want to find out what her language is and what she wants and speak to that, right? And so there's so many different ways to do that. And I see in this text message in particular, it's kind of going with what you're supposed to say and not what would move in a direction that you'd want. And I'm assuming what that is, but I'm going to say, sex and meeting up with them and having another good time. But also what she's giving back to you. So she basically starts off and says, hey, thanks. Like, we enjoyed it. We're a little bit hungover. Are you okay? Ha ha. And so he texts back. He's like, yeah, yesterday was a fun night. Smiley face. I'm fine. And she says, good. You're a really strong guy. Have a good day. And this dude is strong. He's a buff dude, man. I mean, it's pretty fucking crazy. So then he replies back like, hope your hangover is better, and sends a little bit of one of those memes, which a lot of guys do, a lot of guys don't. So some guys on our call were like, fuck the memes. Other dudes were like, I'm all for it. In fact, a guy with a super high skill set, really good with text messaging, was like, I am all for it. But he also said the meme is just like some sort of a social catalyst. It's not really a tool. It's not doing much. It's there kind of as a buffer to lighten things up, to flavor things up, to then move to like, hey, how are you doing? Let's meet up. Why don't you text me back, or whatever it is, like getting very direct and right to the point. So the meme is just there to kind of like speak a little bit of girl language or fun language or superficial language so you can really get to the point. And that's how my buddy uses it. I never really used memes and but used crazy shit. I mean, like you read up on it. We'll get slightly into it maybe in this. But he says like, hey, is your hangover better? Sends the meme, and then gets like not much back, even sends a haha after the meme and nothing back. And then he texts again, how's your day going? So here's where we hit our first point. And I could look at the time code on his text, but I'm not really going to go that into it. But it's basically like, man, I'm doing fine. Saturday night was crazy. You send the crazy meme, you don't get much back. And then a couple hours later, you say, hey, how's your day been? What are you up to? Which is fine as long as you get a response back. And what we need to look at here is, what is she already responsive to? And perhaps what is her state of mind if she's traveling? Okay. And I don't want you to overthink this. Like when guys are going into this whole like reconnaissance, let's analyze the woman. Don't get stuck in that mode. 2 weeks later, when you're detached from the situation, then you can get stuck in that mode and analyze it. So analysis is great and all that sort of stuff. But when you're in the moment for being social or sexual, that'll fuck you up. I know Pickup is obsessed with analyzing things, but analyze things after the fact when you're detached from them. And before that, try and go with the flow more. And your flow should be, how and what is this girl responsive to? So I'm going to just open up this last one where she did respond. And the last thing that she said was like, good, you're like a strong dude, man. Have a good day. Thumbs up. What's going on? A lot of positivity to it. As soon as that happens, I would engage back on that superficiality. And, I said, don't really think about analysis too much. So I'm going to give you some analysis, but you want to be able to go with your gut on these things. I look at 3 things. Okay. And actually I'm not thinking about this when I'm doing it. I just do it. I just naturally go in these directions, and then over analyzing them over the years and coaching guys and whatever, I've noticed that there's 3 distinct things. There's banter, and a girl is bantering back, having fun. This is teases. This is callback humor. This is memes. This is all that sort of stuff that's not serious and on a superficial level. And that's one way that she's communicating. The second one is going to be role playing. I don't mean role playing in terms of pickup, in terms of like, you're the mom and I'm the dad. Role playing is what I mean is that she's looking for an emotional role for you to fulfill. And this happens a lot. This girl's not doing that yet, at least. But an emotional role, man, there's so many different examples of it, like I might seed for it in a text message by saying like, man, I'm having a crazy day, just trying to stay positive. Like, send me something funny. If a woman is responsive in that way to what I say, I know I'm going to go an emotional route. However, this could get even a little bit more subtle. And this is where I see it a lot. Like, the one thing that's coming to mind is like when I've been traveling, and there's a girl that I meet on the fly, and I get her number or something, and I say something like, look, I'm going to text you later, or I'm going to send you a message. Usually if I'm traveling like cross country, we won't have phones, or my SIM card's only going to work for a couple of days. So I'll use Facebook to message, or email or something like that, or WhatsApp. I'll say like, I'm going to message you, and just like, if you reply, we could have a great adventure. If not, whatever. And so I've kind of set it up in meeting somebody, and that's something that I didn't talk about enough. Text messaging is only a tool that's leveraged off of how well your interaction was. It sounds like this interaction was all right though. But so if a girl were to respond to my message after saying that, she's fulfilling a role. She's fulfilling some sort of emotional need. And a girl would respond to that, number one, because she's polite and nice, but also two, because she's looking for that sort of like emotional validation and connection. And I'm not using that in a weak sense, like she's weak and looking for emotional validation. It's that she wants that. She wants what I can give her. So why don't I give her that? So that's the second one. And the third one is logistics. Okay. So logistics is like, let's meet, what time. This person isn't bantery back and forth. This person isn't falling into emotional role plays. They're just like to the point and, you know, very direct. Now, check this out. You're always going to use all three of these things. And actually somebody emailed me earlier today about a text message, and I gave him the same advice. So I kind of shotgun out a peppering of two of those or all three in one text message and see what they respond back to. So at this point where I get like, good, you're strong, have a good day. I know that was kind of a long ramble or rant. He sent, hope your hangover is better. And then he sent a meme. All right. I'm going to look at what she responds to. And she actually responded to none of those. All right. But I'm also going to look at what she responded to me about. All right. So like, good, you are strong, have a good day, thumbs up, with some musical notes and all sort of stuff. A lot of positivity around it. If I took that exact exchange that she said back to me, I would think that would have a higher percentage. Now, nobody knows of what exactly would work with her, but I would parlay off of that. So whatever she's telling me, I'm going to make some sort of joke or bantery, that first one bantery thing back, and then I'm going to give a role-playing thing attached to it, because I play strong on the emotional. That's just me personally. You could do it with logistics, but it would be like, my reply back to that would be like, strong, man, is that all you noticed about me? Geez, you're so chauvinistic, or you're so sexist, or something like that. Like some sort of like humory, neggy thing towards that. Like, strong, really? Is that all you see me as a piece of meat? I'm hurt. And then I would send something, I could send something logistical. Like, this would all be in one text. Okay. So these aren't two separate texts. It's just one text that has two feelings in it. Like, strong, really? Is that all you think about me? You know, I'm hurt. I'm going to go have to cry on my dumbbells or something like that. And then just say, hey, what are you doing later? I have something you might be interested in. So those two things, I would be looking at what she would reply to. Now, the other thing too about replying directly on what she said to you, there's more of an attachment. I'm seeing her as a person. It's just, I mean, just do that. Like, look at what people text you. And she is actually being very personable there, and like, you know, have fun with it, and something back towards her that is relating to her. Okay. Now in this, what he's saying is, I hope your hangover feels better, and something to make her feel good. If a girl gets a lot of attention from a guy, that could be considered annoying. If she is looking for that attention, it could be good, but I would seed to see, you know, first, if she is looking for that. That's really playing more towards the emotional role, but she hasn't really opened the door for that yet either. So it can be read kind of weird. It's not bad. It's not bad yet, but the girl that would say yes to that isn't necessarily an emotional person. It would be probably overly emotional person. She could be open to that 2 or 3 texts down the road. So for instance, if you did like, man, like she says, you're strong. You say, man, is that all you see me as? Like, I'm hurt. But in a weird way, you make me feel kind of like, I don't know, just fun and like not that stereotypical like strong guy way. You brought out a good side to me. And so that would be a role-playing one. Now that's a little bit long. I'd have to type it out to see how it would look, but it would have that same feel, like, strong, really? You're saying that to me? Like, WTF. But really, you actually made me feel really good last night. Like, I wish I had more of that brought out of me. You know, good on you, or something like that. And in that, if she replied to the bantery funny part more, like, oh my God, I wasn't saying, I wasn't saying it like that. You're just like a really strong dude. I would speak more to that bantery fun side. And if she spoke more to the like, let's say, the first example was logistical, like maybe she would say like, I didn't mean it that way, but we're headed out tonight. I don't know if we could come to your side of town. Then I would speak more to the logistical side. Okay. Or if she ignored that and just went to the logistics and said like, look, I don't know what we're doing. Why don't you give us a call around 5? Then I would speak more to the logistics side. If I went with the bantery thing, like, you're strong, what the hell? Like, you're just going to say that to me. And then the emotional, but you really made me feel really good. And she said like, wow, I had a nice night too. If she was addressing that second part, the emotional part, like I would then go like, wow, this girl is looking for some sort of, emotional connection or some fun. And if she's traveling, if she's traveling, I would go heavy on the logistics, just because it's like, you want to make a situation for sex go as easy as possible. Now, when this continues, we send the meme and all that sort of stuff and nothing happens for a few hours. And then we send another text message. It can get a little annoying, but dude, every guy who's trying to learn to be good with women gets caught up in this. So I actually did look at the time codes, and one of them says at, the meme was sent at 1:45 p.m. on Friday. And then after no response, because it also is Friday, some craziness is happening. Then at 10:54 p.m., he says, how's your day been? Now, if she's a girl that's young and on vacation and going crazy Friday night, she's drunk and not looking at her phone or whatever, like that. Like, that's probably the worst time to send it. 4 p.m., 2 p.m. or whatever, or when you guys were texting, that's the time to square all things away. Anything, like, really something to think about, especially if there's a lot of stimuli happening. So if you're talking to a girl that is just 20 or 25 or 26 or getting a lot of attention from people, like, you're not going to get her at the high points of when she's getting attention. You're going to get her at the low points, especially if you just met her and she doesn't know you, right? So it depends on their work. If they're a bartender, like, why would you text them at 10 a.m. when you wake up? She's going to wake up at 2 p.m. If they're going into work and that they, have a long day, I wouldn't text her when she's at work. Text her when she's going to get off, or when you would assume that would be. But for a girl that's on vacation, man, like 6 p.m. when they're trying to figure it out. And plus, if she's on vacation, she's probably trying to figure out like 20 different things to her schedule. But texting her at that time you're not going to get anything back. And then you feel all weird. You feel like, shit, she didn't text me back. Well, it's fucking 11 p.m. on Friday night. That's not going to happen. So then Saturday rolls around and she finally texts back, which is a good sign. So really imagine this, Friday night, she's partying, whatever. She goes through whatever she went through. She had dinner, she ate, she had, whatever fun with all sorts of people. But she texts you at Saturday at 5 p.m. So some time has passed, and she says, last night, I went to have Korean dinner with my school's friends. How about you? It's interesting. Like, it's just a very plain text back. Like, it's funny because perhaps she may be kind of a plain person, but maybe not. If she's not, and she is somebody that is like, has a lot of stimuli going on in her life, it's actually a good text back. The reason why is because she's sharing a lot of like detail about the experience that she had. But regardless, the dude texts back, I'm assuming right away, which isn't bad. Don't worry about the times of texting. I text people as soon as I get it. As soon as I get their number, I text them. As soon as they text me, even if it's been a day, I text them. Like, I don't want to get caught up in some weighing the scales of whatever. I want to meet up with them. Remember, I want to meet up with them. So he says, wow, nice. I just trained with some friends and drove over to this area of the city, and we had some food. And but again, that's almost the same text that she sent you back. She gave you information. Last night, I went out to have Korean dinner with some of my buddies. How are you? And then he says, yeah, I did the same thing. I just did this. And then we drove and got some food ourselves. This has no meaning to it. And we want to seed for that meaning. So again, like, Pickup has a lot of good stuff for this. Like it has callback humor for texting. It has a lot of gamey, bantery stuff. And I would actually go for that here. I would also say, yeah, and actually it just got written in the chat box that, and she can't answer anything. So she's not answering questions. And perhaps she's not good at that. I'm kind of sensing that, especially from this last message. But perhaps I would do something with a little bit more social lubricant, like that might get a reply back. And so push-pull stuff is good for that, but it also should be brought back down and put in a direction. And also Gary wrote in, there's nothing for her to go back to. So it's like you're just asking simple questions or making statements about yourself, and you're not really doing anything that has meaning to you or meaning to her. So if she said, like, last night I went to have Korean dinner with my school's friends, how about you? Say, man, had this crazy, crazy time. Like, we went out, we trained, and we drove into town, but man, I don't know, I'll tell you later, something like that. You could add that bait there. Again, simple forms of push-pull. Or like Korean dinner on a Friday night. That's all you did? Crazy. I can't hang out with you. Like, give it some flavor. Like, give it flavor back so that people can have something to grab onto. Now, you want a conversation going that you're not going to score any points for that. It's only if you meet up with them. But you want a conversation going so that you can meet up, so that you can build more trust, build more connection, share a moment with each other. There's all sorts of different variables that can come from when you build that bond. And I can give you some examples right after this. But now that I'm a little bit more familiar with the time code of this, then at 11:29 a.m. the next day, Sunday, I'm assuming there's a picture of him and her kind of like hanging out, looking kind of intimate. And then there's a couple of emoticon, emoji things. I'm old, man. I don't get this shit anymore. I actually got an app that has like a cartoon configuration of myself, and I'm blown away by this. Blown away. In fact, let me just tell you about that thing, the Bitmoji thing that I got, where you make a cartoon character of myself. Like, it gives you all sorts of different memes to send people that are you. That would fuck me up. Or I would not use that. I would only use that. I would use that to like intentionally go like, look, you're only good enough for the Bitmoji. Here you go. Or if I were to send memes, I would be like, that, like, whatever you told me is not good enough to actually comment towards you. So I'm giving you this meme. Like, that's what I would use memes for if I were doing it. Just because it would be kind of funny. You'd get a good playback from it. And I would literally say that, like, wow, that text message you just sent me sucks. It's only good enough for the Bitmoji. Thanks. I can't even personally talk to you anymore. Again, one of my favorite lines. This actually came from Kenny Powers. Everybody should watch Eastbound and Down to learn how to talk to women in a way where you'll offend them, but you can recover from in a great way. But anytime I'm talking to a girl that thinks she has like the sexual edge on me, like if there's a stripper or like some hooker or some girl that thinks she's a 10 or something, I just say, man, I'm going to pretend my dick just didn't go soft right now, but let's continue the conversation. And then they laugh and they get all offended. And they're like, what? But anyway, so here at 11:29 a.m. on Sunday, I'm assuming he sends a picture of them and then a whole bunch of like smiley faces with tears on it. And he says, cute photo. What's your number? I just got WhatsApp. So he's asking her for something. Look, these are all like just two, they're standard text messages, but it's not like you're asking from yourself and you're asking to know her. You're just asking to ask. So before I get into what really I would have sent instead of those things, like, let's just go down this road from what it seems like you have with this text message. Maybe this girl can't, she just doesn't like you. That's always an option. Okay. But it seems like she does, right? And we want to have that potential that's there. And remember too, heterosexual human beings, you already have the cards stacked in your favor. You more or less need to get out of the way. You don't need to do too much. And when we do stuff in the wrong way, we're doing too much and we're getting in the way. And that's kind of what's happening here. And that's not a big deal because we've all been there and I could be there again. You know, every girl is a different experience. Every person's a different experience. But what I really, really would say from all of this is what she wants is to know that you like her for her. And in order for that to happen, you need to notice stuff about her and you need to notice stuff about you. So fuck all the pickup, supplicating, chasing thing. That shit's for real. And this could be a little bit chasey, but you also need to know when to chase and know when to step it up. And like, to be honest, to be a sexual man is about chasing at some point and saying like, you know, no, fuck you. I want this. Like, I want this. And like, I'm going to tell you I want this. And even if that makes you scared as a woman, like, I'll be there with you when you go through that fear, but I want this. Like, why does that make you afraid? Are you afraid to be a woman? You know, so I really mean like you need to present yourself in that way. So she needs to know that you notice her and you're not seeing her as some unique person or a non-unique person. And this is how you talk to everybody, and that you really see her as her, and you need to show a side of yourself for that. Now, check this out. When I read this, it seems like this is a message you would just send to anybody on a couple of levels. So it's like, yeah, we just got done training and then drove around, went into town, got some food, and it was all good. That's kind of what she sent you, a similar message. That's nothing special. That's nothing special about you. That's nothing special about her. It's also not fun. You could add some fun stuff to it, but it's not special, and it has to have unique meaning to you. Now, when then it comes into Sunday morning and you text a picture of yourself with all these emojis and you say, cute photo, what's your number? That's kind of a point of intent. And I can tell you most likely what she might be feeling there. It's like, oh man, this cool guy that hung out with me on Friday or Thursday night, like he just thinks I'm like a normal girl. He probably says this to everybody. And this is the fear that women go through. This is resistance for women. You'll be making out with a girl. You're fucking making out with her. She's turned on. She does the moan. And then she's like, wait. I got to call my friend. She goes to that point of resistance. Basically, what that is saying is, it's saying that, number one, you probably do this with everybody. This isn't special. This isn't for me. You do this with every girl, even though she may not be articulating that, she's trying to articulate that. Number two, she probably feels that she's uncomfortable. Things are rushing too quick, and it's your job to make her feel comfortable. And that's really kind of talking point for escalation, which I've done tons of videos on that. You should watch them. But here you need to make it special because you're treating her. And if I were there when she got this, I could almost sense the disappointment in her seeing this, because it's like, oh, now he's hitting on me. This guy who had a great night with, had fun with, was respectful, maybe I could like him, maybe not, and that's a good place, when a girl's like, he's a potential, heterosexual woman, heterosexual man. We're still in the game. That's a real favorable place. We're on the playing field. All we have to do is connect. It's like, man, oh, he sent me this. Now, I don't want you to be like, oh man, I fucked up. I'm horrible. All that sort of shit, just whatever, it happens. It happens to me still to this day, but what I think would have been better is if there was something a little bit more personal. She says, well, I went to whatever Korean food, yada, 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 and hung out with some friends from school, and then say something which is personal. It's like, man, oh, you're killing me. Like, I love Korean food, Kobe beef or whatever they have there. Is awesome. Like, what are you doing later? All right. Get to the point. Now, again, we want a response and we want a response to meet up, but let's say it's a total dud. There's nothing there. Sunday morning comes around. It's 11 a.m. The first thing I would send would not be a picture. It would be probably something kind of bantery, like maybe some callback humor. Callback humor is basically a reference to something that we talked about earlier in the when we were meeting up, it could be something funny. But something funny might be like, oh my God, I just went into the bathroom at Gold's Gym and something totally reminded me of you. Don't hate, or something like that. And I'm just trying to get a response. Now that's very Steve like. I tend to send pretty highly offensive like stuff that's kind of bantery back and forth or whatever, but yada, yada, yada. So, the other thing is that if there was something that you guys discussed, like, there could be all sorts of stuff. You were talking about strength. If you were talking about, studying or whatever, you could send something in terms of a joke around that. Like if I remember back to the email, man, I'm looking for my phone so I could find this email. The email that I got from my buddy this morning. Oh, damn. And my computer screen is blank there. Where is this? Okay. So the email that I got from my buddy this morning or yesterday morning or whatever it was, oh yeah. Okay. So this guy had sent, now this thread's killing me. So this guy had met this girl on Saturday night and he actually left with her. He pulled her. It was like awesome. It was on a workshop, very badass stuff. And he just didn't know how to get to her place. And there were a bunch of friends around. So he sent her callback humor. Okay. And I said so she didn't text back for a while and then she did. And it's Thanksgiving here in the US. And so she's going away for a week. So it makes things even harder. But whatever, man, he's in the game. He's in the game with her and it's cool. So the callback humor that he sent was like, I know when that hotline blings. So the Drake song that I guess they were joking about how bad they thought the song was. Okay. So then like a day later, more than a day later, she texted back. And so at first it's like, oh man, I fucked up, but that would be callback humor. And so she says, wait, ... That can only mean one thing. And then he says, yes, I'm like Drake, more like Fetty Wap or whatever. I don't know. There's like some inside joke stuff going on in there. And then he says another text message. He says like, hey, I had a great time last night. Maybe we could hang out again after Thanksgiving. And he says, I haven't heard back from her. My first text was about that song and a song about booty calls, thoughts. And so I actually texted him. I said, so I would say not to text her again in the next 24 hours unless she does. Okay. And the only two texts I would send after 24 hours would be number one, a text message that says some random thing that you guys talked about, kind of like the Drake song. So, and I think I give an example of that. And then number two, a text that says something like, hey, I was just hanging out at the Handlebar or Halcyon and this kind of something reminded me of you. What's up? And those are the two places that they hung out at. And I'd say the random callback humor, the first example, after 1 to 3 days, man, this is like all compartmentalize that. And another one might be something like, hey, random question. I want to know about acid and life's mission, or I just had a revelation about acid and life's mission. What's up? And the reason why I said that was because that's something that they talked about, was like doing acid and having like fucking, her whole life figured out. And she was really young and it was just kind of funny for the guy. So a little bit of callback humor. Again, what they talked about, one of the things that they talked about was how she did acid and had everything figured out. And he was like, really? You're 21, I don't know about that. So that sounds like something a 21-year-old would say. And they kind of joked about those things. So it's callback humor there. Now, I guess she texted back something like, this is actually cool. He said, hey, let's hang out after Thanksgiving. And she said, yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, so that's a nice thing to say. That's just a nice, thing, but there's really nothing to it. So it's like, let's hang out after Thanksgiving. That sounds cool to me. All right. So that being said, again, she's not giving a lot of information there. All right. So in that, she is just giving so little that you can't really judge anything from it. So what did I say? Oh yeah, so I said, hey, congrats on the good sex, because he got laid by somebody else. Oh shit, I'm lost in it. Man, I totally got lost in what I was telling him to send. So let me just go off the top of my head what it is. So basically, if she says yeah, let's hang out after Thanksgiving, like, man, I would really push hard for logistics on that and then maintain communication and contact with through. I would probably seed for it. So like in 1 day or 2 days, maybe 3 days, um, you could do something on Thanksgiving, but I would do something that she could interact on, and I would try and seed if she was emotional or not. And so the role playing thing, like if we were to fulfill a role, and so I would basically be like, he could say something like, "Hey, I'm in Austin, doing something at this like community thing that I'm involved in on Thanksgiving. Just wanted to make sure you were having a good day and not too crazy with your crazy ass family." Something like that to see if she would respond to that. Now, she may or may not respond to that, but that's fine. I could still wait till after Thanksgiving and go for something logistical. And he knows when she gets back into town. I don't know, but it's not that far. She's just like in 2 towns away or some shit. But or I might say something that would be like, "Hey, I was just in Halcyon and something reminded me of you. It's pretty funny. Like, I can't wait till you get back to town," or "It's pretty funny, but too long to text. Anyway, talk to you later." Something like that, just to give some bait to see how she would be responsive to it. She could be not responsive to it. She could be like, "Tell me. Or she could be like, something indifferent to it, or text something back that would be, like, "Man, I'm eating dinner with my family. I guess we'll have to talk later," to brush it off. But you want to read what the person is saying and how they're getting back to you. The reason why I bring all that stuff up is basically because we need to be able to read that person and speak to what they value, see them as a unique person, and present ourselves as a unique person so that we can say like, "Hey," we can get to logistics and just be like, "Hey, what are you doing Sunday? What are you doing Tuesday? What are you doing, whatever day that you have free time," and then meet up with them. That is super, super important. And if you would like to know more on text messaging, there's a million different, resources out there, but I'll put a little link to the things that I wrote like in whenever it was 2007 or 2008 that are pretty crazy, because I did insane shit over text and still will do insane shit over text. But fundamentally, man, I want to read that person. Fundamentally, I want to meet up with that person. I want to read that person. And also, my text messaging is not dependent solely on the text message. It's really dependent on my interaction just before that, even if I just had 20 seconds to interact with them. So hopefully that was helpful. And talk later.